Have the Exodus and Conquest been debunked? Well, if you listen to Dr. Josh Bowen and Dr. Kipp Davis, and a Assyriologist and a Dead Sea Scroll expert, respectively, you would think that they have. However, should we be asking an Assyriologist who's very familiar with ancient Assyria, which was prominent in the Bible in the 8th century and 9th century BC, or a Dead Sea Scroll expert whose materials were created around the 1st and 2nd century BC, or should we ask an Egyptologist like Dr. David Falk? I think we should ask the latter. So that's exactly what happened. Inspiring Philosophy, Michael Jones and Dr. David Falk rebutted a video that was made by Paulogia that featured, you can see right here to the right, Dr. Kipp Davis on the left, and the person in the rainbow tie, we've got Dr. Josh Bowen. So let's listen to what Dr. David Falk has to say with IP about this. And I've highlighted this particular part because this is almost a 3-hour debunking. I recommend you watch the whole thing. It's very enjoyable. But here we go. Now you can see the title it says here, by the way, Paulogia's video says The Bible's Fake Victory and Moral Failure, featuring Dr. Joshua Bowen and Dr. Kipp Davis. All right, so here we go. Let's listen to my favorite part of this debunking.
Biblical personages and their acts. Look, I get after Michael a lot for his attempts to popularize biblical scholarship, and this is a crystal clear example of why. He just does not read the literature carefully and comprehensively. Why? So long as you are not.
Let's let him finish here.
Sorry.
Hold on.
Not passing off your opinion like an expert or pretending to popularize expert opinion. When you are consistently getting the scholarship wrong, this should disqualify your participation from the discussion.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Kipp has agreed to disqualify himself from the situation. He has constantly gotten the scholarship wrong. Not just here. You guys remember a few months ago when Stephen Boyce was on my channel, we were responding to Bart Ehrman. We brought up Kipp again because he got the Greek wrong of Matthew 21. You're constantly getting the scholarship wrong. I guess it disqualifies you from the conversation, ladies and gentlemen.
He's all into hedge protection. It really is.
Now, remember, that's his standard, not ours. I want to employ the principle of charity. I would love to use the principle of charity, but we can't do that today. We're using Kipp David rules.
And I would normally invoke the principle of pluralism.
Yeah.
But he's disqualified himself. He's disqualified himself from further participating in the conversation. So, bye-bye.
That's the ball game, folks. I mean, again, we're using Kipp Davis rules. If that's the case, is he going to admit he's wrong about this, or is he going to be a hypocrite? I guess we'll see. All right, let's move on ahead a little bit more here. I think we've covered this a lot. I want to get to the other sites, though. Real quick about the archaeology of Jericho, though. So before we do move on from Jericho, though, I do want to talk about something. Because for years, you know this as well, Dr. Falk, we've been told during the late Bronze 2B, there was no wall, there was no fortification, there was no occupants, and there was no destruction layer. Now, from the 2020 reports, we know there were occupants, there was a wall, and we know why we can't find a clear destruction layer because of site leveling that occurred.
Well, here's the thing. There always was evidence of late bronze occupation. Even in Garstang's reports.
Yeah.
He found a late bronze cemetery.
Right.
And this was what was so incredulous was we were supposed to believe that there was no late bronze occupation, but there was a late bronze cemetery. People are dragging their bodies across the Judean foothills just to bury them at Jericho for no good reason.
Mm-hmm.
But no one lived there. What?
Well, I want to say this. So the reason I bring this up is because, again, these reports came out in 2020. You did a video on them immediately. Josh and Kipp actually did a video about Jericho about 2.5 years ago on Vice Rhino's channel. And here are some of the things they wanted to say in that video. So I cut some things out.
Incredibly scanty late bronze.
This is a cut. So I went through this video, downloaded it, and I cut some parts out so you can kind of hear what they say. They were saying about Jericho 2 years ago.
Bronze Age remains at the site. given its meager occupation. Is it terribly surprising that the city does not show up in the writing during this period? The overwhelming consensus among archaeologists and biblical scholars is that Jericho was a small, unfortified site during the Late Bronze Age. No walls, no massive city.
And in the details, nothing fits. There's no large city, there are no major walls, no walls at all, and almost no occupation at the site. And these are just a few of the things, both archaeologically and historically, that don't fit. If Joshua and the Israelites had invaded Canaan during the Middle or Late Bronze Age, between 1550 BC and 1200 BC, they would have found Jericho almost totally, if not completely, deserted and without any of its vaunted fortifications still present.
In addition, Finkel
All right. I think that's enough. Now, why am I bringing this up? Maybe they didn't hear about the reports in 2021 when that video was posted. The problem is in that same video, Josh says he's working on this book, and he quotes from the section of this book on Jericho that he was currently writing. And lo and behold, that section mentions Nigro's 2020 reports, which mentions occupants, mentions a wall. So why were they saying in 2021 there was no wall and no occupants when they knew the reports existed? And they should have known that Nigro says there's a wall and occupants. Again, when you don't read the reports carefully, you disqualify yourself from participating in the discussion.
Exactly. And the fact is that we knew there were occupants. Even before the wall. We just didn't know if there was a wall. That was really the only thing that Nigro added to the conversation. We already knew that there was a late bronze cemetery. There were scarabs in that cemetery from Amenhotep III. That's late bronze 1. So we knew. I mean, you don't have a town. You don't have a cemetery without a town. There were fragments of Mycenaean late bronze pottery, not on the tell, but outside the tell, in sort of the fill area. So we know that they were still importing pottery to the area. So, there was already, even before Nigro's report, good evidence of occupation. What Nigro did was he filled in the blanks to say, what is the level of that occupation? And
Brilliant.
Now we know that there is a mud brick late bronze wall that followed the middle bronze walls, because it's built on top of the middle bronze walls.
Well said. All right, let's get back to this. I think we're going to get to some of the other sites now. The text of Joshua. It was like
So I recommend that you take a look at that when you have the chance. I highly recommend you pick it up if you have the means. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please like, subscribe, and do come again. And just remember, whether you eat, drink, or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. Thank you.